Hello, and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 23. This is another episode of the Comic Conspiracy podcast. I'm your usual host, Ryan Higgins, joined by my usual other host.
Yes, Brock Sager.
Hello, Brock.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm pissed.
Why are you pissed?
Fucking, let me just tell you, it's just, I don't know, I'm just so pissed. We shouldn't carry any Grant Morrison in the store, dude.
Yeah.
None whatsoever. None.
Yeah, after last week's, after the insulting Action Comics last week,
Yeah.
I think it's official that the Comic Conspiracy no longer carries the GD Superman. Is that?
Well, no, we can't carry any Grant Morrison stuff.
Well, right. Now, see, what's funny is, so I was reading Cross the other day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I got to the scene where they masturbated onto the bullet.
Yes.
Right? You remember this? Remember the scene, right? So Cross, the murdering homicidal rapists that decapitate people and have sex with the severed heads with the upside down cross in their forehead. They actually masturbate on bullets and then shoot you with the bullets. So even if you're trying to get away, you still become a crossed lunatic. I was actually totally okay with that.
Yeah. That anal rape scene in there was amazing.
Yeah.
The detail and just the fierceness.
It's incredible.
Of that whole page description. It was amazing.
But then Action Comics #1, one of the worst comics I've ever read.
It's
So we got to keep doing this, or are we done with the? Are we done with the bit? Or okay,
We're done with that stupid North Carolina Christian.
For those of you joining us late, it was an interesting set of events that took place on Thursday. Actually, I should get the name of this nice fellow for the record. So the name of the store that we record out of that I own that Brock here works at is called Comics Conspiracy. This store was started up in 1993 by a couple guys a little bit before I started shopping here, and later became the manager and then eventually owned it. What's interesting is when this book first came out, when this store first came around, people had said, "Oh yeah, there's another store called." There was actually two other stores. There's a chain in Canada, or not. I don't think it's a chain. It may just be one store. I think it's a chain though. I think they have a couple stores called Conspiracy Comics, and there was another store on the East Coast named Comic Conspiracy,
the Comic
Conspiracy. So I thought that was, I never really worried about it all too much.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, I figured, it was one of those things that you're way on the other side of the country and everything, and it tends to not be that big of a deal. It's similar in name, but not exactly the same. And we're not down a road from each other,
exactly.
So it's not illegal for us to have very similar names. Interesting. One of our listeners and forum regulars, Gemmo 6995.
6995.
I'll make the Ryan Scott joke that Gemmo 1 through 6994 must have been taken. He apparently went to follow our podcast on Facebook.
Yeah.
And ended up accidentally following the Comic Conspiracy store.
Yeah.
Right. And just for whatever reason never took he never took himself off the list. He just whatever. Well, then he sees that this store has decided to ban Action Comics from his store. And maybe all work by Grant Morrison.
Yeah, and I think any work by Grant Morrison, so he's no longer going to carry it.
Yeah, so boycotting all Grant Morrison work from his store. Because he felt that in Action Comics #1, Superman said "goddamn," and as a Christian, that offended him. Yeah. Now, there's a couple. Since the story ran, Grant Morrison actually came out and publicly said, "No, it's just a grunt." We'll get to the whole situation, and the guy since retracted his boycott and everything like that. But so Jammo post this on the forum, and I see this, and I'm like, oh my god, this is hilarious, and I found the site, and I put it up on Twitter, and I sent it off to Rich Johnson of Bleeding Cool, and Heidi McDonald over at The Beat, and Graham McMillan, and DC Women Kicking Ass on Twitter, and I was like, hey, here's a free one on me, and so and half an hour later, this shit exploded. So, I don't know. if that was me and Jamo, I don't know, Jamo, thanks for the link there. You got lots of people to click links that don't do anything for us, but hey, you got the story out there.
Well, I mean, I was blogging about it Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I mean, Thursday afternoon is when I sent that out to those guys, and yeah, just crazy how fast that spread and became one of the biggest news story I've seen in a while.
It's like it was like wildfire. Like I was reading through the Facebook posts, like people's comments, and just people bashing this guy. But the guy was, I mean, no offense, asking for it because I asked my good friend who's like wants to be Superman, what he thought of Superman saying GD. What did he mean? And he's like, wouldn't he say "Gosh darn it"?
Well. So let's kind of get into the story here a little bit. So in Action Comics this week in this past week from DC, Superman, when getting hit with I think he's getting hit like a mortar shell by a tank.
It's an explosion. Yeah,
it's an explosion. The words that come out in the word balloon is GD.
Yeah.
There have been, sorry if you're hearing this really weird thing, or the dry cleaners next door decided that this is the time they're going to air out their vents. So if you hear some weird static in the background, that's that. Don't mind it.
Pay no attention to the static in the background.
Yeah, it'll go away soon. We swear. Grant Morrison does a lot of these quick little 2 or 3 letter grunts and kind of like emotions in text balloons. Damian Wayne in Batman always says TT, right? He says that a lot. You see this in a lot of his work. So Superman gets hit with this shell, this explosion, and the grunt is GD.
Yeah.
All right. Even if you were to kind of spread it out, I don't think goddamn would even fit in this word balloon with the font the size it is. Like, I don't believe there was any...
Well, and a lot of people thought it said go.
Go? I could see that. The D is pretty small. But, so he felt that this was Superman saying goddamn.
Yeah.
So there's 3 major issues myself and I think most people have with this, right? So one of his posts was Christian comic book store readers and shop owners, join us in the Grant Morrison boycott. Action Comics #1 is a slap in the face to Superman, Christians, and Superman creators Siegel and Schuster. Now, the fact that he reversed his boycott is fine, but the kind of the hypocrisy and the whole situation, you have to comment on it because this is the ridiculousness of this. Mm-hmm. You can mock to the end of the day, right? So let's get into this part, and then he has another line here that we do want to talk about that references back to what we were talking about masturbating on bullets and stuff. So first of all, Superman saying God, even if Superman did say goddamn, Superman's a fictional character.
Yes.
So I don't think you can really slap Superman in the face, like. And even if he did say goddamn, he's not Christian. If anything, he's like a Rowist, like the great Rao from Planet Krypton, the Kryptonian god. So
Row damn it.
Second, again, he's not saying goddamn. I understand if you were Christian and someone says God, I mean that's offensive to certain people in the Christian community. Sure, I'm going to get that. Okay, so I'll kind of give you that. But he says it's a slap in the face to creators Siegel and Schuster. Did he not realize they were Jewish?
Yeah, I don't think he does.
Like, in that even worse case, they just don't write God. They write G-D. There's a lot of religion.
If they wrote G-D, I would have leaned a little bit more towards him having a different meaning for it.
And I mean, I can see if maybe the intent was Mon Pa Kent were Christian or Jewish, raising Superman, or raising Clark, kind of in this tradition, this sort of being like a teenage rebellion way to kind of go on. But I think this guy just, besides overblowing it, even if Superman did say "goddamn," it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, it's the thing. Like I asked my friend who's a Superman fanatic. I was like, "Well, what did you think GD means?" It could mean "gosh darn it." So it's like
mean any.
Well, that's
various.
the thing. He brought gosh darn it first.
Yeah.
So why would you automatically assume that it's goddamn, right?
Yeah.
Or goddamn it, whatever context it is. So him jumping the gun, he already has it in his head then.
Yeah.
That it's that way. So. But you said he had said something else you wanted to comment on?
Yeah, there's another line here where he says, I deal with books like Crossed and The Boys. I accepted gay characters being introduced into children-specific books like Archie Comics. However, I'm getting very tired of having comic writers' liberal agenda force-fed to me. Mr. Morrison has stepped over my line. If I had to stand alone on this, I will. I pretty much have to. Yeah, Crossed... I actually went through some of the comments, and he had said that I guess he had owned the store, sold the store, then actually bought the store back. So when Crossed and The Boys had started to come out, he was not currently the owner. So these books were originally bought under his ownership, under the other people's ownership. Yeah. I don't know if he has continued to order them for people and
not for the shelves,
and not for the shelf, or if he's completely cut off his orders for these books. I mean, he says I deal with books like Cross, so I'm assuming that means he still currently carries the title because his book still comes out. I almost don't order Crossed. That book is fucking foul, as nasty as hell, and like there are times where I'm like, good God damn, Avatar! Like I almost don't want to carry this book because this book is messed up.
Yeah,
but but he deals with that. I am not kidding. Crossed has to be the most screwed up current comic on the shelf. Like I can't. The Boys is bad, but it's not.
It's not. The Boys has its moments, but it's not.
I mean, there's a lot of derogatory and sexual deviance, and
what was it? The mini series that came out.
Oh, you're talking about the new one, Butcher Baker?
No, the last one.
The one where they're on the island?
Yeah, where it's like literally the first like 2 issues in this big, huge superhero orgy with a bunch of prostitutes.
Yeah. And I mean, those, but hey, that's homosexual. No, that's heterosexual, so it's totally fine.
No, there was gay stuff in there, too.
Oh, was there? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's just, this whole thing is... and of course, the fact that it's the comic conspiracy is the name of the store. I'm like, So... Yeah, I'm glad this guy kind of reversed his thing. Honestly, if this guy wants to run like a total Christian comic book store and only carry certain titles and whatever, I mean, it's fine.
It's perfectly fine. There's a market for it, but
I don't know if there's much of a market for it. Comic book people tend to be extreme. I don't want to generalize, but most comic book people I know tend to be pretty on the liberal side.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, I mean, if you're in North Carolina, there probably is a market for a Christian comic book store with lots of very safe for Christian comic books.
All ages.
It would just be very difficult to carry most Marvel and DC titles, let alone the independent stuff, when most of your creators probably hang pretty far left.
Yeah.
And it would be hard. But like I said, it's a guy's shop to do whatever he wants, but calling out like a boycott and trying to get other stores to...
He called Morrison an Irish schmuck.
Yeah. That was kind of... I mean...
I was like, dang.
Well, and he also says, like, I could see Guy Gardner, Hal Jordan, or Oliver Queen, or maybe even Bruce Wayne saying it, but
I understand the Boy Scouts,
Superman,
the whole...
Well, you know what he's like? He's like, Superman was created to be the perfect superhero, unblemished. Superman is an American icon. Even that is a total misrepresentation of what Superman was created to be.
Yeah, he was created for truth, justice, and not necessarily the American way.
That's something came out way later. Even the truth, justice stuff, that's way late.
No.
Superman was originally created as a Jewish golem. Like I've said this many times. He was created by a couple Jewish kids growing up in the city who created Superman to be their version of a savior for his people, their people. And what Grant Morrison has done in Action Comics this week has brought Superman back to kind of the original take on this character, where he's fighting corrupt politicians and he's fighting against corrupt landlords and stuff like that who are trying to keep the poor people down and everything. And I mean, and the whole Superman is not unblemished. He used to beat the crap out of people, and he's even in more modern day continuity, he killed a handful of Kryptonians. They go back and forth on this. And again, at the end of the day, is Superman an American icon? he's an American icon in the fact that he's an alien who immigrated to America. And I mean, that's the whole reason.
He's in an American comic book.
Well, right, but I mean, this sort of... He's an American the way a lot of people don't want Americans to be, you know what I mean? So, and this guy's, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably not a fan of all those foreigners coming into this country. You know, just as, again, I don't want to totally generalize, but, the shoe fits. So, just such a total misunderstanding from this guy, and it created such a big hubbub, and I'm glad to have hopefully been a part of it. So.
Hey, free publicity for us, because when you search the Comic Conspiracy, your store pops up location-wise, and all of my blog stuff pops up.
Nice. Okay, well,
let's move on to email. You got
normally we start with a nice couple emails or something here, so we kind of had to start with that, and we'll talk Action Comics again here in a little bit. But let's hold on, let me make sure I'm actually recording all this. So okay, good. Okay, so I got an email here. I actually got a handful of emails, so I figure we'll read a few of them today. I got one here from Mike. He says, Dear Conspirators, every so often you comment on the industry moving more towards trade paperbacks than single issues. How would they do this? I like the idea since it would be easier for new readers to get into what is going on because storyline X would be one trade roughly. Could you please elaborate more? He also continues, and we'll answer this in a second as well. If I may double dip, what are your thoughts on Uncanny X-Force? It's the only Marvel comic I'm consistently reading since I loathe Fear itself, and the DC reboot has me far more interested in trying out DC books. Well, what I think is actually interesting is, if anything, we've seen the relaunch of the DC titles as well as the push on digital comics kind of cut that trade paperback market out. The trade paperback market's been pretty soft the last couple years.
I mean, people get into trades, like they're really passionate, like when they get the first few, and then it kind of dwindles.
Well, what ends up happening with single issue comics is issue 2 is not going to sell as much as issue 1, and issue 3 is not going to sell as much as issue 2, and issue 4 doesn't sell as much as issue 3, unless you're Walking Dead. That's basically the only one that sells more every issue than the previous.
Yeah.
And that's like with trade paperbacks, too. The problem with the American comic industry, and especially when you're talking Marvel and DC with the superhero stuff, is that they're ongoing. These books never really end.
Yeah.
So unless you're renumbering the trades constantly, I know we've talked about Hellblazer coming out from Vertigo, and I really hope they do Garth Ennis trades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Go to Paul Jenkins trades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Brian Azzarello trades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No, it was volume 1, and then it was volume 1 for however many, and then the next one was the volume 2 Garth Ennis.
They're not going to do it that way. No, that's not going to work. So, trade paperbacks are definitely a huge part of the market. What people feel the move. I never felt trades would be the dominant force. They are a strong force, but single issues still sell trades. And with the single issues in digital, the thing is, digital is aimed at a single issue format, not a trade paperback.
Yeah.
This is the 99-cent Angry Birds iPhone style. Come back and spend a few bucks every month or two, which is the total opposite of what the trade paperback market is, which is every 6 months or year, drop your $20-$30, which is more like the video game industry or DVDs and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if DC can hold a really strong single-issue market, because, as we'll talk later in this episode, DC has blown the doors off what people thought these books could sell in a single-issue format, and digital apparently didn't affect that at all. So, the problem with the industry moving towards trade paperbacks individually, here's a perfect example. Bruck, who I know one of your favorite comics, we talk about this multiple times, is Day Tripper. You've read the trade, right? You bought the trade?
No, I bought it, but I haven't read it.
But this is a book you've recommended and sold to many people because of trade paperback, or in the trade paperback format.
Yeah, because I read it single issue.
You read the first issue and went, "Holy crap, this is good." Would you have bought that straight off the shelf for $25? Would you have even looked at it? Maybe.
I don't even know if I would have looked at it, because the thing is when you do single issues, you're going to get people and get numbers that are consistent. Like you said, they fall off. Except for like Walking Dead, right? You're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you kind of can gauge how many books you're going to need by the end of a run.
But I'm saying from a reading perspective.
But from a reading perspective,
would you like, do you think, like, personally for you, because I know what my answer is, but if they were to stop and only publish graphic novels tomorrow, do you think you'd buy a lot more or a lot less?
If they just publish graphic novels, I'd probably be very wary of what I buy.
Yeah. Because they're going to be $20, $30
because they're going to be $20 to $30 a pop. Right. So that means I'm dropping this enormous amount of money on something that I might not like. Like right. Day Tripper, would be one of those books. Like I wouldn't necessarily go to a comic book store.
Yeah.
To buy trades. Or no, I would go to a comic book store to buy trades, but to peruse trades, I'd probably end up going to like a Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah.
And like kind of reading through the first few pages. If I liked it, then I'd put it back on the shelf and I'd go to my local comic shop and buy it.
Sure. Well, but what I'm trying to get to here is that that $20, $30 entry point is high for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Independent books tend to be moving towards the trade paper, the graphic novel, the quote unquote bookshelf format, the collected format, as the only release. And to me, that's good and bad. I mean, I think a lot of independent comics these creators have strong following. They're much more successful in a bookstore market or to a bookstore crowd than they are to a comic book crowd. So this is probably a smart move for them. It makes it a little bit harder for comic stores, I think, to order some of these again. We've talked about this many times. I wish I could sell more independent comics, but at the end of the day, this story is pretty Marvel DC focused. I do sell what I consider to be a decent amount, and I've been told actually it's more than a lot of stores. But I still feel like I wish I ordered everything that was in the back half of previews, but I don't. I just know I'm not going to sell it. So it's interesting to see people kind of curious about single issue formats versus trades, and then just again, trades are a harder sell. I
think.
I shouldn't call them trade paperbacks because it's collected. The graphic novel is a harder sell to a casual audience, or to people that are born and raised on the single issues.
Well,
so Marvel, to kind of finish up what I say. Marvel and DC, I don't think will ever go collection only. Will not go graphic novel only. It would not work for them. It's not a model that would work for them because the single issue formats was driving it. Independent, it's probably the way it's going to go for most titles. Obviously, manga's been very successful with it, but we're just not going to see it for, I think, your average Marvel or DC or IDW, Boom Studio, those guys.
Well, I think that part of the reason why it's awkward for people with the graphic novel is that it's great that we have graphic novels. Like Day Tripper and a graphic novel, I can sell it. Like I can get people to read it because I read it single issue and I know it's good, so it's easier for me to kind of upsell it because I can upsell the whole story. So, graphic novels definitely do have that market for people that are kind of just going for a whole story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people that want to get a complete story arc, and that's exactly what the thing is for. Like, I've kind of always said this as well. I think the graphic novels and trade paperbacks are great for people. We were talking Marvel and DC. They'll want to catch up on something, or if it's just like a big event book to read it, and they tend to actually then start getting into the single issues. Whereas the independent stuff, it's generally released graphic novel only. And that's kind of the format they're used to, especially with a lot of the European influence, with all the European comics being released that way solely. Yeah. You kind of get a crossover there. I don't know.
Well, I honestly feel that a lot of books do fall through the cracks, at least independent books, because, like you said, you don't know if you can sell it.
Right, but a lot of these books are not based on, Drawn and Quarterly and Fantagraphics is not looking at comic book stores to keep them in business.
No,
it is just not the market for them generally. And like I said, I wish I had a huge group of people interested. It's at the point where, like, let's say Love and Rockets, when that comes out, the new annual book, because they do like a 1 year kind of graphic novel, magazine-y sort of thing. I could sell maybe one. I know plenty of stores that sell dozens of them a year when they come in. It's like, that's great. I wish I could. Or, the new Dan Clowes book, Razzle, the new Jeff Smith book. I sell a handful here and there, but it's like, I know stores where this outsells every other title on their shelf. Yeah, it's just, we just don't really have the audience for that here. So, but, some certain stores do, and I'm glad to see them succeed with it. And, but when you talk Marvel or DC, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think you got an email there you want to read.
Yeah.
Verbatim. No more you're brocking it up.
Shut it. So this is from Ryan McBride, who actually posted this on the forums.
Cool.
So
I don't think he posted on the forum, did he?
No, he did. Because I read it.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, he also emailed us to it.
Yeah, he emailed us and posted it on the forum. So, Ryan McBride, I don't know if you guys answer listener questions on the podcast. Just started listening on episode 21 and 22, but have been a Geekbox listener for a while now. I'm kind of new to comics, and I'm trying to put together a great pull list. So far, I have Wonder Woman for my girlfriend and me, Batman, Superman, Batman the Dark Knight, Green Lantern, Justice League, Action Comics, and Detective Comics. But as a poor college student, I don't know how well this will go with the piggy bank. So if you guys had to cut out any of these series, which would they be? And keep up the good work.
Oof. Sophie's List.
Well, it's
Sophie's List.
Sophie.
Yeah, it actually works too. I meant to say Sophie's Choice, but yeah, Sophie's List. Hey, that works as well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, personally, not all these are out yet, so we won't know till the books are really out. But that's a pretty damn good list of comics there.
Yeah. I mean,
do you got any there that you're not feeling yet?
Well, no. They talked about this more on the forums and him cutting out certain titles and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think I even recommended.
I totally missed it.
I know you did. You totally missed a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez. I recommended that you can probably pull off the Batman Dark Knight book. I mean, the artwork's Finch. It's amazing, but I don't know how well that book is going to carry over.
Yeah.
So, and you already have the core books basically down for that. I mean, the only titles I would kind of recommend getting in on is Animal Man or Swamp Thing.
Yeah.
To kind of add out to that list, but
yeah, I mean, looking at this list, I would have said, Detective, you may be able to pass on, but god damn, that first issue of Detective was really good. So, I mean, for me, my absolute positively must buy are, hey, what a surprise, Action Justice League and Green Lantern. Oh, what a shock. The three by Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison. I'm so surprised at myself for saying that. And of course, Wonder Woman, because if your girlfriend reads it, that's awesome. So keep getting her that. Batman, Superman, Dark Knight and Detective, it depends on what you like about them. If you don't, I mean, I'm gonna say Superman is probably not gonna be everyone's cup of tea. George Perez is kind of an old school writer and artist. May kind of not be for everyone, especially if you're going from action to Superman. It's going to be pretty drastic. Batman looks fabulous. Scott Snyder writing, he's so good. There's a Greg Capullo doing the art. Mm-hmm. The art looks real hot. I would say that's pretty much a definite for me, but
yeah, I mean, Detective,
again, Tony Daniel, I thought would be fun, but that first issue blew me away, so I wouldn't take it off my list. Dark Knight, Dark Knight's, of the three Batman titles, Dark Knight's probably going to be the most self-contained and standalone.
Yeah.
So is it going to count, quote-unquote, or be as important, quote-unquote, as the others? I don't know. It's kind of your call, dude.
It really boils down to, how much can you afford? If you're looking at getting 10 titles in a month, you're going to be paying roughly, I'm going to base it on our sales tax and do an average. You're looking like 36 bucks.
Yeah, sure.
Because Action is $4, Detective is $4.
Yeah.
And Justice League.
Detective is not 4.
It's not 4. They dropped this still 2.
Mm-hmm.
So only Action and Justice.
Action and Justice League because they're oversized.
Okay, so those two. So so basically you're looking at 36 bucks that you're going to be throwing down every month to get 10 books.
Yeah.
So it's really what you can afford. I know that I've talked to a couple of people about this, but for college students, especially digital comics, are a great way to still stay in comic books because they don't take up space.
Yeah.
You can still be in comic books.
One of the pushes for digital is that a lot of people are complaining about the price. They are doing the after 30 days, the price drops $1. So if you're interested, you can get them a little bit cheaper down the road. Mm-hmm. if you want to support us, you can also buy it.
Buy it through our storefront.
digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. You can purchase everything but Marvel on there, because Marvel doesn't do the storefront app. I'm not surprised. Yeah. Hopefully they will. But yeah, you can, that way you can actually afford a couple extra books if you don't mind waiting a little bit. Mm-hmm. And there's always trade paperbacks later, and stores are always doing sales.
You have to be a little wary, because I think they announced at Baltimore that they're not really writing for the trade format. They're writing for...
Yeah, this has been a pretty big talk with the DC books, is that there's no 6-issue story arcs anymore. They're not writing for the trade. It's all single issues. They're pushing a digital market. They're pushing the single issue market, which needs to be strong. That's their front dollar amount. That needs to be big. As much as selling a couple million copies of Watchmen over 25 years, they also need that initial sales as well to keep the press rolling.
Yeah, well, I mean, the same thing like we talked about with Day Tripper is that, the initial press of the single issues gets enough people in to pump the trade. Right. So, but I mean, again, I think the only problem that they're going to run into is that it does sometimes make it difficult to break up a trade. Because if you break up a trade in 5 issues...
But if it's 3 or 4 1 or 2 issue story arcs, there's plenty of ways to break that up into multiple trades.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you run into, I hope they don't go the route of, Hush, where you had Volume 1, Volume 2. Honestly, that whole series, to me, should have just been 1 volume.
Yeah. Well,
but
it is.
It is now.
Yeah.
And so is Sinestro Corps War.
Yeah.
So
we totally forgot to talk Uncanny X-Force. The second part of the email I read.
God.
Yes. Uncanny X-Force. That's a pretty damn good book.
I've enjoyed it.
Rick Remender is the writer.
I think so.
There's a handful of... I think there's been some kind of rotating creators on it. Because it used to be... It was X-Force for a while.
That last X-Force was amazing.
And then it became Uncanny X-Force recently. I like the joke that the old X-Force was X-Force with the knives. Because it was like Wolverine and Warpath and X-23. And now it's X-Men with guns. Because it's Wolverine with a gun. And Phantom X with a gun, and Angel with Archangel with a gun, and Psylocke now has a gun, and Deadpool always has guns. So I'm like, damn, these guys all have guns now. But really fun book, kind of self-contained as far as all the X-Men books go. The last story arc hasn't done much for me because I never really read Age of Apocalypse.
Age of Apocalypse. I read the first story arc and liked it. The second story arc I didn't get because it had Deathlock in it, and I can't stand any story arc with that guy in it. I tried the Wolverine Weapon X with him in it. I wanted to blow my brains out.
It's pretty bad.
But
I love Jason Aaron, but the Wolverine stuff just doesn't do it for me.
But what was it? The current story arc with the Age of Apocalypse.
You've liked, right?
I've liked because it's nice after reading Age of Apocalypse recently to kind of go back and kind of see this world in like a newer viewpoint and after the fact. So it's like everything is still happening on this alternative world.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's actually pretty engaging. I mean, I can understand where people are like, "Oh, what is this?" And it is confusing if you haven't read Age of Apocalypse, and you're probably not going to enjoy it. But I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun title. And the X-Men books have been involved in so many crossovers the last handful of years. So it's good that they've sort of left, especially the current Uncanny X-Force, pretty much alone. I haven't noticed.
The funny thing about the X-books is that, Cable, the last volume of Cable, and the last volume of the X-Force, not Uncanny, were really, really good.
Yeah. I didn't get into Cable, but X-Force was good too.
I enjoyed all of it because it was Cable was a self-contained thing, and it worked. It was good. X-Force was a self-contained thing. It worked. It was good. But
both Cable, they all tied in with...
they all eventually tied in with the Messiah Complex.
And X-Force had all the Necrusha X stuff.
Oh, that was abysmal.
I actually liked Necrusha. Well,
I couldn't stand Necrusha. Really? That was horrible.
Despite being a total ripoff of Blackest Night, I mean, I kind of liked it. Again, it's to resurrect a bunch of dead villains to fight. Yeah. They resurrected all those terrible 90s X-Men characters and brought them back. So, that was fun. I liked it.
I couldn't stand it. I think
if you're going to steal an idea, might as well steal a good one. So.
This is true. But, the X titles, I don't know. I mean, X-Force has been a better title, I think, more so than X-Men or Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Lands when Land started drawing X-Men with Fraction as the writing. I mean, it's really, really good. Started out really well, but then it just started floundering.
Yeah.
And then the X-Men Legacy kind of...
I never got into Legacy.
I liked where they went with Legacy, where they started, they followed a character and talked,
Mike Carey's been the writer on that book for years now. He's actually leaving soon.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been writing that book forever.
But Legacy was nice because it kind of... You followed a character for a little while.
Yeah.
And then you followed another character so it was kind of like a vignettes book.
Yeah.
So that was nice. But again, it's... Schism, because I'm caught up now.
Yeah.
Schism.
Keep it nice, Brock. Should I go into the next email? GD Schism.
GD Schism.
Okay. Got an email here from Matt. Says, "Hey, Brock and Ryan.
Hey,
Brock. This should be an email you're reading, but I'm going to read it to you to make you happy. So,
okay.
I first want to say how glad I am you guys started a podcast up. Hooray! I was a mostly casual comic reader, but still a DC fanboy. But your podcast was got me excited for the rejiggered 52.
Woohoo! Thank you. What's his name? Matt. Matt, you are awesome and an amazing individual.
Matt, you're the worst human being that's ever lived. I know a friend of mine and I are subscribed to 30 of the books, split down the middle as we are poor college students. A lot of poor college students listen to this podcast. Generally, they've been great so far, except for Green Arrow, which is really disappointing. But I think my favorite is Justice League International. Mm-hmm. And I think, Brooke, you really like Justice League International. I really like Justice League International.
Yeah. It doesn't have the campy, crappy kind of jokester... funny book feeling that don't get me wrong, it's still a good book.
Yeah.
It kind of has that feel, but it really builds off of the Booster Gold series and the Justice League Generation Lost.
Yeah.
And it really carries over that good feeling.
We'll keep that because you've totally said the exact opposite of what he's about to say, and you've kind of answered his question. Yeah, almost nothing has happened, but I love how big, dumb, and cheesy it is, and it actually reminds me of some of the sillier arcs of the original Batman and the Outsiders. Thanks to Brock for recommending it. Geoforce and Metamorpho are two of the best heroes, period.
Yeah!
So you're Brock's favorite fan of all time. Booster Gold seems like a perfect leader, yet I know nothing about him. I'd rather read his books instead of just Wikipedia-ing him. So I was wondering if you had any recommendations for getting into him.
I'm already set on...
Well, yeah,
I'll pile it on.
I'm already set on picking up the Booster Gold Showcase trade, so anything else would be appreciated. Maybe throw some Guy Gardner books in there for good measure. Thanks and keep on being rad. Will do. P.S. My local comic shop, one of two in the entire state of Vermont. There has to be more than two in Vermont.
I don't know. Maybe we could open another one.
Over-order on every book like Ryan, like me, except for Swamp Thing, which means when we went to pick up a subscription, they didn't have it. Boo. So I guess let's start at the top here. Justice League International, honestly, one of the more negative reviewed ones I've read. So I'm actually happy to see that you and him and a few other people liked it. Because
I really enjoyed it.
There's actually a few of the new ones I haven't read yet. I just had a very busy weekend, and I haven't read International yet. So I was kind of hearing a little bit more negativity than I was expecting on this book. So I'm glad to hear that you guys liked it. So.
Yeah, I liked it. It kept some of the... You read Generation Lost.
Yeah.
You know how Generation Lost had the feel of... Justice League International because the team was there and the interactions were there.
Sure.
But they weren't the comic booky,
I was really hoping Judd Winnick, who wrote Justice League International, was going to write the new, or wrote Justice League Generation Lost, was going to write Justice League International. But no, it's fine.
Yeah. It's really good. I mean, if you've read Booster Gold, the current series, and you read Generation Lost, you picked up 52 with Booster Gold's story in it, and you're kind of like, I went back and read the Justice League International stuff. It really kind of is. It's a fun book to get into, but I think that probably the reason people had such a problem with it is this is going to sound really weird, but it had a Marvel feel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it really felt kind of the build up in the book built up to something that was, because I don't want to spoiler alert.
It's fine.
It's like mole men come out of the ground at the end.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's to me, I think it's one of those books that people will either love or hate initially, but I think hopefully will continue to be a good read.
Yeah.
Because it's not one of the serious books like Justice League. It's not one of the serious books like Swamp Thing. It's one of those kind of, this is the Justice League International. This is kind of poking fun at the world in a sense of, It's the whole thing of can't we all just get along?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So, recommendations on Booster Gold, the showcase.
Well, what I was going to say about that is you just need to go back 3 episodes and listen to the Comic Conspiracy episode number 20. We talked about Booster Gold and recommended all those trades at length.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
You can go back a few episodes. But I mean, we'll say it again. Basically, the showcase, and pick up the especially the Dan Jurgens run from a few years ago. Also the Jeff Johns run, which is surprisingly, as I've said multiple times, I really like the Jeff Johns stuff, but the Dan Jurgens stuff I thought was actually even better.
Yeah.
So that's worth buying. And then Justice League Generation Lost, which is kind of the lead up to this series.
Yeah, if I had to if I had to pick the major things to read for Booster Gold, you can read. If you get the showcase, read the showcase. I mean, it's a cheap way to get the old things in black and white. But definitely read 52.
Oh yeah, that's right. 52.
And then read the Booster Gold stuff that Jeff Johns started and Dan Jurgens finished.
Yeah.
Read Justice League Generation Lost after, because that's the order that you should read them in.
Yeah.
I just started my Booster Gold Volume 1 hardcover that I had bound. And I mean, it really is like a solo Justice League International from back in the day. Yeah. So, but it's enjoyable. But thanks, Outsiders rule.
As far as Guy Gardner, I think the same Justice League International,
stuff.
Yeah, follow that up with you want to basically go into the Jeff Johns Green Lantern stuff.
Yeah.
Then into Green Lantern Corps and Emerald Warriors.
Yes,
which is the ongoing one.
I wouldn't go anywhere near Guy Gardner's own series.
Warrior? No, that stuff's pretty awful. Well, that's when he wasn't even a Green Lantern anymore. And
well, no, it was Guy Gardner. He was like a Green. It wasn't him in the beginning.
No, Guy Gardner. I don't. No, he was Guy Gardner Warrior. I'm almost positive he had like because
he was in 0 Hour and he was a whiny little bitch.
Yeah, he had like that Indian, like that Native American, like headdress and the stuff under his eyes and just terrible. So. All right, there's some good emails.
Did we answer all those questions?
I think so. Did we? Yeah, looks like it. Gary Gardner. Yep. Mr. Gold. Yeah.
Matt?
That's Matt.
I'm horrible with names. Matt, if you do not get a copy of Swamp Thing, send us your address.
Cool. Because you got to buy this guy a copy of Swamp Thing?
I will buy this guy a copy of Swamp Thing if it's not on there.
Nice. I'll take that out of your paycheck.
Thank you, even though I don't actually get a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, there's again, not a lot of news, and there's probably not going to be too much new news in the next few weeks. I mean, it's basically DC all the time.
I think it's just story talk. I mean, I was over at another store today, and that's all we talked about. We literally all talked about the Comic Conspiracy bullshit North Carolina guy, and talked about the DC stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the DC stuff's going to rule the news for quite a while here. So I think the only thing to really talk about, I'll kind of just bring this up briefly because we're going to actually have a really long episode this week. We're recording 45 minutes already.
Just keep talking. God.
So DC did come out with not official numbers down to the last digit, but they came out with some pretty big numbers here on their books. Justice League #1 did break 200,000 copies.
Nice.
Which, I mean, they've said that for a little while here, but we're finally getting some official confirmation. And Marvel, DC actually shrunk or Marvel and DC's kind of separation in the sales charts actually shrunk over the last few months, just from attrition for Marvel and boosted up numbers from Flashpoint for DC. And just with Justice League #1, it shrunk a little bit more. And they were getting pretty close. And we are not even into September's numbers, which is when all these books came out.
Yeah.
At this point, DC has sold out of every book from the first 3 weeks of the relaunch stuff. Week 2 and 3 haven't even shipped yet. They're almost out of week 4. I was talking with my guys at DC. They're almost gone for everything from week 4. Justice League #1 went to a second print, sold out. Went to a third print, sold out. Every book is getting a second print at least, if not a third print, because stuff like Batgirl and Action and Justice League are probably going to go to a third print because people bought so many of those second prints. The DC Comics app peaked at #4 on iTunes' top grossing apps for the week.
Wow.
So Comixology was #2.
Wow.
Let's see. There were 10 titles that broke 100,000 copies sold in the direct market. That's Action Comics, Batgirl, Batman, Batman and Robin, Batman Dark Knight, Detective Comics, Flash, Green Lantern, and Superman. That means comic book stores ordered over 100,000 copies. Personally, I still find that number a little bit low. I think I mentioned it last week.
Yeah.
If I was the baseline for the store and every store ordered my numbers, it would basically be double these numbers. So most of these books would have broken 200,000. JLA would have broken 400,000. So would have Action by the way. So yeah, it's Action. Oh, actually, with the second print, Action actually does break 200,000 copies.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, big numbers from DC. Good to see such big numbers. This is something where the single issue market has been shrinking. A lot of people have said comics are dead, comics are over. People just want to download them. People don't care about. It's clear that.
Well, did we get numbers for the digital sales?
The marketing guys at DC and Bob Wayne, who's their VP for retailers and stuff. They said, or VP of sales, they said that the digital numbers were strong, but not like mind blowing.
Yeah.
Whereas they were really blown away by the sales on the single issues.
Okay.
Now, since we did talk about this last week, and I've pimped it pretty heavily on Twitter and stuff, we do have the digital storefront that we sent through here. And, I'll be damned. We've sold a fair amount of comics through that thing. It's not going to make me close the store tomorrow and solely operate a digital store. But there's a lot of people out there, and obviously a fair amount of listeners and fans of the Geekbox and this and followers on Twitter that are interested in picking these up. What'll be interesting, and maybe some people can write us, shoot us an email. Would you have even bought these in print? If print was the only option, would you have bought these if you bought it digitally? I'd be real curious to know, because I have to say I think my answer is going to be no. Some of the people I've talked to, they're like, I either don't have a comic store near me, I'm not really that interested in print, I don't want to keep them. They probably would not have bought these. The fear was that digital was going to take away from existing readers. But I kind of thought the same. But I think we're gonna kind of be looking at a brand new group of audience here.
No, I mean I completely agree in the sense
will be
of
interesting.
Digital comic book readers. I think there's a market for it, and I think that this is going to be a new generation of comic book readers.
Sure.
But I think comic books have been so engrossed in like single issues, collectors, readers.
Yeah.
The market is so ingrained in, like, most people go through an evolution when they, or at least I did, I don't know if you did, where I was trying to collect everything I could.
Yeah.
And then there was a sort of realization. Then I kind of purged, and then it was a reader thing, so now I'm more up to the reading. But now I'm still casually doing the collecting, or the collecting's more focused or centralized in like, I needed to finish Jack of Fables. I needed 2 issues.
Yeah.
I took my time. I found 2 issues. I finished my run of Jack of Fables. Done. I'm moving on to something else. Yeah,
I mean, for me, trade paperbacks, I tend to buy the stuff I really, much like DVD. Actually, it's almost exactly the same way. Every DVD I own, I've already seen. Mm-hmm. I buy stuff I really like so I can rewatch it.
Yeah.
Every trade paperback I own, almost every single one. There may only be a handful that I bought just in trade, because I'm like, I'll just read it this way. Almost every single one are ones that I have bought in single issues and enjoyed. I mean, some of them are just graphic novels. That's the only way they're released. Mm. But for the majority of them, it's stuff that I like, so I'm buying for a format that I can reread and keep. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, digital, I think, can be it's going to be a huge market for a casual audience, and yeah, I mean, it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Well, it's a good market for college students.
Exactly, like you were saying, no physical space.
No physical space to take them. You can they're in the cloud, or you can keep them on your
phone or whatever,
phone or iPad or computer, wherever the files are stored.
Yeah. No, I think I said this. Did I say this last week? I don't remember. I did buy Justice League #1 on the phone. On my.
No, we didn't actually talk about this.
Okay, I did buy Justice League #1.
You talked about it with me.
Yeah, I did buy Justice League #1 through my own account on the Droid app last week. It's okay, the panel layouts, having to switch your hand from sideways to vertical, horizontal to vertical to get the right accurate page layout. And it's a bit of a hassle going from word balloon to word balloon and then pulling back out. I mean, you really lose the instantaneous shock of that big double-page spread of like, holy crap, this is awesome. You know, when you flip that page, boom, it hits you in the face. You don't really get that. But can I see the appeal? Yeah, absolutely. You know, and on the iPad,
on
again,
the iPad or a Droid tablet, a certain size, it would work. But again, like you said, viewing it on a Droid phone, and your phone screen is actually bigger than mine.
Yeah. So it has a pretty big screen, isn't it, on that Droid?
Yeah, you have a fairly wide screen. Mine's more narrow. So, it's one of those things where it's going to appeal to a certain market, like you said. Yeah. But again, we also have to look at the different types of markets. There's single issue, there's trade, there's digital. So they all need source. Now, the only thing I feel bad about for digital is they don't necessarily have a lot to offer, and what they are offering,
it's getting better.
It's getting better. Don't get me wrong, it's getting better. But it's like you said, like DVDs. When DVD first came out, people bought everything, and it was the stuff they were pumping out was garbage. Like, I'm sitting there waiting for Willow to come out on DVD, and it took forever. Willow on Blu-ray.
Hell yeah.
But it's one of those things where there's definitely a market there for digital comics. But again, back to our listener who's getting his stuff, maybe digital's a better way to go. Yeah. Especially if you wait. Yeah. Because I know that they have said that it's going to drop after 30 days, which I think it dropping after 30 days is fine. Does it shoot themselves in the foot? Maybe, but I mean, what real?
Well, and here's kind of the thing. I mean, I don't talk about the digital stuff in the store very often. I don't usually recommend it to my physical store customers because, as a rule, they're not interested in it anyway. So pushing the digital thing to an internet crowd, to a younger crowd, to a more plugged-in crowd, to a more casual crowd is probably the way to go. Mm-hmm. Not every store is going to have access to, let's say, a podcast or access to someone like Ryan Scott at the Geekbox, where we have sort of a built-in audience for this stuff. But I still think there's a way to do it. My only concern, though, is, at the end of the day, if I lose a print customer to a digital customer, I am losing a significant amount of money, regardless. It's between 25 and 40% is what I'm losing. If they bought the exact same amount, digital only, through me, I'm losing a good chunk of money.
Well, and you're losing an even more amount of money if they don't even buy it from you.
Well, of course, but if they buy it, if they just download it, or if they buy it from somewhere else. So again, I would say I don't want anyone to think, oh, Ryan's fully behind digital, I'm going to quit all my physical comics. No, I'm still very much a single issue physical comic guy, and I always will be. I have seen, I thought we'd see, if digital sales, if I was expecting a 2 on the scale, digital sales for the past week have been a 4. I'm not saying it's a 20. I'm not saying it's blowing the roof off the place. But we are selling more than I expected, and so there is clearly a crowd there. However, it's nothing compared to what I'm seeing on the physical side.
Oh no.
So again, I think we'll see probably what a lot of people expected, that the digital crowd might be sort of the newsstand, the casual. These people will then come into comic stores, probably buy some single issues, more than likely buy trade paperbacks, probably buy some T-shirts and posters and toys. So yeah.
Which you can get all those posters and toys and stuff through our digital storefront.
Our digital storefront.
Or sorry, our online storefront.
They don't have toys or posters or any of that stuff. No. Just books. Just books and DVDs.
Graffiti.
And stuff,
you need to give comic book stores digital storefronts or online storefronts.
All these. You know what? That whole affiliate program thing, Amazon did it, obviously, and then pulled out of California. It works to a degree, but at the same point, the problem is you're kind of marketing towards a competitor, and even though you get a cut, you're not getting a big cut.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of one of those things where, at the end of the day, any listeners, I'm glad that you support the digital store. I would be gladder if you supported the physical store.
Yeah.
We do ship. We'll gladly do that. So, but it's all user. However you want to do it is cool. It's just that at the end of the day, that there's no denying that the physical product is still much more desirable.
Oh no, the stuff's flying off the shelves.
Oh, it is. Yeah, we're not gonna. Yeah, I expected to have to return half of the stuff. I'm not gonna have to return anything. Well, no. I'm going to have to return a whole bunch of copies of Hawk and Dove because I ordered it specifically for like the free art thing to give away. So, but
and what did I say about that?
Just probably a bad idea.
Yeah.
Meh, whatever.
See, this is the funny thing though. This is I want to share with the listeners your faux pas for this DC. Ryan Higgins,
yes,
over-ordered Hawk and Dove to get the art for the raffle. Which did you give it away yet?
I haven't got it yet. No, Rob Liefeld, artist on Hawk and Dove, has said he is going to give stores that ordered over X amount of copies a free commission or a free piece of art to raffle off or keep or give away or whatever. And I figured, hey, I order a bunch of extra copies. I'm probably not going to sell. I get the art. I can return them anyway. It doesn't cost me a ton. Worst case, I spend $20-$30 and I can give away a piece of original art or keep it for myself if I really want to. Yeah. And hey, that works for me. And and I respect the guy. At the end of the day, I'm not the biggest Rob Liefeld fan in the world. I don't hate the guy like a lot of people do. But I got nothing against the guy. He's got a style. It's not really my thing, but he's got his fans.
So,
but I that's awesome.
Imagine it's great. Hold on, can I finish? Jeez,
I guess
I have to tell your faux pas.
Okay, what's my faux pas?
You over-order Hawk and Dove, and yet Green Arrow, you completely forgot the savers.
I didn't. Green Arrow,
you had to have.
It's not that I so much forgot the savers. There was the transaction from the old series to the new series was like 100%, and then we got a lot, and then like the people that sign up for Green Arrow plus the people that pre-ordered all the 52, there were no crossover. So it wasn't like any of those customers. I think there was one guy that was the same guy that ordered both the subscription to Green Arrow plus the subscription to all the 52. There was like only one guy, maybe two. I think it was just one though. And so that added a whole ton of extra subscribers I needed to add to Green Arrow, plus my already fairly high subscribers to Green Arrow, plus the fact that the amount of people coming in and picking up one of everything on the shelf. So Green Arrow is one of those books that, I did misorder Green Arrow. And of all the books, Green Arrow is first to go. Animal Man was second, though. That book sold. Animal Man was fantastic.
Animal Man was really good. The art, wait.
Go for it.
Is difficult at the beginning, especially when they're standing around talking. It's very difficult. But when it gets into that crazy, weird stuff.
When he's in the red.
Oh, it's a bitchin'.
Yeah,
that's just cool. But the standing...
Travel Foreman, he's got that very sort of... you'd expect this in a Vertigo title. And hey, it's Animal Man, which was a Vertigo title, so that works. All right, Brock. I think we're going to have to wrap this guy up here. You got a parting pick here?
A random comic pick?
Yeah.
I'm actually going to pick Joker by Brian Azzarello.
Brian Azzarello.
And who did the art on that?
Oh my God! You're killing me here. Hold on. Killing.
Yeah, we actually don't have a copy in the store. That's amazing.
Oh, Liber Mayo, of course.
Liber Mayo.
Yeah. Who also did the great Batman Death Blow? The same team, two guys did Batman Death Blow. Yes.
Amazing book. I picked it. Came out 2 years ago. 2 or 3 years ago.
Sounds right.
It's 2 years ago.
Sure.
Came out after Dark Knight.
Oh wait. After Dark Knight, but actually was the inspiration for Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm. So, really amazing book.
That shot of the Joker with the split lips and all that. For everything I've heard, was that they came up with this, and this was the pitch for Dark Knight that used that split lip thing. So, very cool.
So, but I really enjoyed it. It's only on hardcover.
Yeah. It still sells like crazy.
Yeah. But really enjoyed it. Brian Azzarello, who does 100 Bullets, wrote it, and it's amazing. I definitely recommend it as my pick this week. Would you pick like a trade and not a single issue? Or are you going to do this all freaking month?
I'll just pick 52 DC number ones all in a row. But no, seriously, if you could find it, if not, get the second print. I got to pick Animal Man number 1. That was such a fantastic book. And you're going to hear a lot about action. You're going to hear a lot about Batgirl. You're going to hear a lot about Detective. You'll hear a lot about this stuff. But Animal Man number 1, if you go back, actually one of our listeners, Liquid, very prolific forum goer, he read Animal Man number 1, and he was like, "Holy shit, this is the best book ever!" And then he read the Grant Morrison series, and he got to the Coyote. You haven't read those yet, have you?
Yeah, don't spoil them for me.
He got to
that's on my list. It's like the next thing I'm going to get in.
He got to the Coyote issue, and he's like, "This is the best book of this is the best comic ever published. And I'm like, yeah, pretty much is. Both the Grant Morrison 3-volume Animal Man run.
You're out right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I actually got a bunch more coming. I ordered them from DC this morning because I'm like, you need to send me more of these because Animal Man is now the hottest book in the store. The 3 volumes by Grant Morrison are just some of the best comics I've ever read. And then the new number 1, Travel Foreman and Jeff Lemire is the writer. Just a fantastic continuation. You could pretty much read Grant Morrison's run and then go straight into this issue, and it's like nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean he pops up in 52. It pops up in Ron. Some of the Ron stories.
Yeah, he's in Countdown.
Countdown.
Is it Countdown to Adventure? Is that what it was? Is that what it was?
Was it Countdown to Adventure?
He popped up in a bunch of stuff. He popped up in 52. He was going around with Adam Strange and
Starfire.
And Starfire.
Can't wait for that statue.
And so Animal Man's been one of my. He's kind of that. He's got a family. He's kind of I don't want to say a loser, but he's kind of he's never been the big superhero guy. So he's kind of this. I always love these D-list heroes.
I wouldn't even consider him D-list. He's like B-C.
Well, at the time when Grant Morrison took him over, sure, he'd appeared in like 4 books. He was part of the Forgotten Heroes, for Christ's sakes. If you're involved in a superhero team named the Forgotten Heroes, yeah, you're one step away from being on the freaking, what is it, the Fabulous 5 or the Forgotten 5 or whatever. Some goofy ass DC team of all these totally weird ass superheroes. Yeah. Anyway. So yes, Animal Man. Pick up that new number 1. That book is great. I can't say enough about it. I mean, I can sing praise of a bunch of the new DC relaunch stuff.
Have you actually read it?
Animal Man?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, just checking.
Yeah, no, that last page, creepy. What were you saying about that page where he goes into the red and he sees the 3? What are they called? Like the three warriors or something like that. I can't remember. It's those 3 giant animals that he's talking to when he's just like the blood cell, like the blood veins. Oh man, that book is messed up, but good. Yeah, seriously, if you read that first issue and you like it, go back and read Grant Morrison's 3 volumes. I'm not even kidding. It's one of my favorite comics, and it has what I consider to be the best comic book panel ever printed. It is my favorite comic book panel I've ever in all of comic history. It's in the 3rd volume. It's a giant splash page. You can't forget it when you see it. It literally haunts my nightmares sometimes. It's fabulous.
All right, so we have an announcement to make.
Oh, announcement time. What's our announcement? Next week?
Next week?
Yeah, we're gonna have a few special guests on the podcast next week. Assuming schedules work out and everything, they should. Many of you know we are spawned from the Geekbox podcast, which I'm on every week, and Brock's on pretty now and again. You're actually going to be on next week, and I'm not going to be on.
No, I'll be on in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're going to be on in 2 weeks, and I'm not going to be on in 2 weeks.
I think that's the first time you haven't been on.
I want to say there was 1 or 2 other times I haven't been on.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm almost positive. There've been recordings. I guess maybe I've been on every one I've recorded here. But there have been a couple special episodes recorded elsewhere that I haven't been on.
Yeah, I think this will be your first one not here.
Yeah, not a standard episode. Yeah. But Ryan Scott, who runs Geekbox.net and runs the Geekbox podcast, and is our generously allowed us to continue this podcast here through his bandwidth and hosting. So thank you, Ryan. He's going to be on this episode talking about Suicide Squad, because we're going to have an all Suicide Squad episode next week. We've been talking about doing these for a while, and we're finally going to get one in of an episode devoted to one subject. So if you have any questions about Suicide Squad or sing its praises, give us an email. We'll talk about this next week. If something changes, I'll post about it online or on Twitter or Facebook if we're not going to do it, if we push it back a week or something. But we're really going to hope to have it next week. We're also going to have a 4th guest on, a special person.
Mr. F.
It's not like the writer of the series or anything weird like that. It is just a person whose name we are not allowed to say, and we will get into that later. He's a Mr. We'll call him Mr. X for now. He is a mystery. He's an enigma.
Mr. F.
Mr. F. So, no, he is not a mentally retarded female. It's a little Arrested Development joke there for you.
I think I just blew myself.
Yeah. I think
Come on!
So we'll have, so for all those people that were saying we should get some other people in this podcast, we're going to next week and see how that works. So, Suicide Squad. Let's go. One trade out now. There's another one coming of the old stuff.
I just finished Trial by Fire. The second volume is going to come out of the old stuff. Trial by Fire was really, really good.
Yeah, there's another volume of the more recent mini, and the new issue comes out, the new book comes out next week, so we'll kind of do a compare contrast with the new series.
No, it doesn't. It comes out this week.
This week we will discuss next week. Yeah, so if you want to pick that book up and kind of give it a whirl and so you can kind of follow along with us as we compare and contrast the various, talk about kind of the history of the league showing up on Generation, on Justice League Unlimited. Kind of go through the history of the characters, and it's a great, one of my favorite series of all time. So I'm happy to get a kind of full episode in on this, and hopefully as time goes on, we will actually do more of these full episodes. We hadn't talked about this early on, just we didn't really get one going. But Brock, me and you, we'll have to find a third or fourth, but we're gonna have to have a Sandman episode as well. So
Sandman episode. But October, we're already working on October special episodes. So
that'll be good. That'll be good too. All right, clock this bad boy in a little over an hour here. Let's
clock it.
Let's go.
Let's
go shut this episode down. If you want to send us an email, feel free to shoot us an email at thecomicconspiracy@geekbox.net. You can also go on www.geekbox.net and shoot us an email through the contact link there. You can visit forums.geekbox.net and you can talk about comics or other video game and movie and TV and anime and podcast related stuff there. You can visit Brock's blog at conspiratorbrock.blogspot.com.
Nice.
And I think, conspiratorbrock.com, you need to just buy this domain.
I know. Okay. I'm working on it.
Yeah, so you may just be able to go conspiratorbrock.com. We'll see if he gets set up in the next week or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it, huh?
Yeah. No, I've gotten a lot of people coming to the blog, checking things out.
Cool.
Been really active on it lately.
Nice.
With the crazy North Carolina guy and the hooded lady. By the way, the hooded lady, I will have the hooded lady images up for every week. Nice. So be on the lookout for those.
Cool. And then, we'll pip one more time the digital comic storefront if you want to support the store. And you're a digital comic guy, you can hit digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. That'll take you to our little digital storefront through Comixology. You can pick up stuff through there. When you buy through that link, we do get a small cut. Supports the podcast, supports the store. And you can read that on your iPhone, your iPad, your tablet, your home computer. It's all cloud-based and account-bound, so you can read it wherever you want.
I will have deep links on my pull list for you to go that way too. So
deep link.
Yeah, deep links. And Matt, remember, if you don't get a copy of Swamp Thing, send Ryan an email.
Got a few laying around still.
Oh, I'm gonna pull one for him right now.
All right. Just in case.
So sends it. If he can't get it, I got him covered.
All right. We will talk to you guys next week. Hopefully you guys ready for the Suicide Squad.